Now that we've talked about Camera Raw and all the things that we could do with Camera Raw, let's go into Photoshop now and talk more about a special kind of layer. You've already gone over layers, so you should be familiar with layers and masking and groups. But now we're going to talk about adjustment layers, things that we can visually impact the image and make a difference to what we've already done in a non-destructive format. For instance, as you know, with a layer, it starts out blank and there's nothing in it. However, there's a special group of layers called adjustment layers, and they do exactly what you'd imagine. They make adjustments. Where you can find that is under the layers palette. There is a button here, which is like a half black and white cookie. You can click on it and it has all these options. And I want to go through those options with you and show you exactly what they do and how they can be used. The really cool part is they all come with masks attached to it because they believe that you're not going to apply to the whole image, but just selectively. And I'll give you certain instances that you can use to actually apply these directly for your work already. Now that we have our image opened from Camera Raw, we will go ahead and start with our adjustment layers. For example, the first one is a solid color adjustment layer. Now, the reason why this is actually there is, I believe, more for a graphic design standpoint, where you want to create certain banners or you want to change the text on top of it, so you can add layers of text and then have a solid color underneath that keeps on changing. Maybe you're doing masks. Maybe you're starting to cut out images. For instance, I can use this teal adjustment layer. I can Command I the mask like we've done before. And instead, we can change the flow really low and start brushing. And let's say we are trying to create, a banner or something like that where we just want the model cut out. We can start by brushing and eventually cutting out the model and using that specific background. Maybe you're creating rough comps or composites. We can see exactly what color would suit to send to a graphic designer or art director or something like that to show them exactly what's possible. Another really cool option is, instead of having a mask, we can just right click, delete the layer mask, and then drop the opacity to give it a tint, an overall tone that happens with the color fill layer. With the color fill layer itself, we can use the properties of that color to change different colors of the image. For instance, let's say that we start out with a black mask. I'll hit Option and click on the mask icon, which starts with a black mask. We'll take our brush tool and then we will paint over the glasses. And I'll keep my flow high just because I want to quickly show you. Let's say I like this teal color, but I want all the properties of the glass. I want the reflection, I want to see the actual image detail, the sharpness, all of that. Instead of just lowering the opacity, which doesn't get you exactly there, you can keep it at 100. And then on top here where it says normal, you can change this mode, which is a blending mode. And that's exactly what it is. It changes how this adjustment layer interacts with the layer below it. You can change that to color. And now you see the color of the glass changes based on the color that you pick. You can change the color again by clicking on the thumbnail, picking the exact color you want. Why is this helpful? Say you're shooting product and you want to change the color of a specific product to another color. This allows you to do so. Say you want to brush it in gently. You can change over to black, use a really low flow like 2%, and then just brush over the areas that you don't want the teal to be affecting. You know it's working because, again, with the shortcuts we talked about, look at that awesome mask we just made. You can see that the teal itself affects at the bottom, and it's not affecting the top of the glass. So that is really cool. And the same goes for pretty much anything in the image. You can create multiple solid colors and change shirts and backgrounds and all kinds of things. So if you wonder how people get those really cool tones in the image very selectively, that's how you do it. Next step is we have other ones like gradient. With gradient, all you have to do is double click, and when you do, it comes up with this gradient editor. This is reflective of the image itself. You see that the bottom is teal, the top is blank, and this is because the top corners of this gradient represents how visible it is or how invisible it is. Again, this is cool because you can create a gradient and you can change it to color. By default, your gradient is going to look different than mine, so all you need to do is click on it. If you want to change the color, double click on the bottom box, pick the color you want, and then hit OK, and then hit OK again. So again, double click on the thumbnail, click on the actual gradient itself, and then you can decide what colors you want or what opacity you want it with. Then you hit OK, and you hit OK. Because the blending mode is set to color instead of normal, it interacts with the bottom layer by showing just the color of this adjustment layer. Because if it's set to normal, it just acts like a regular gradient. So that's another really cool way of toning your image, or adding some effects in case you decide to do that. Let me redo that for a second and show you another really cool point of this. If you like this effect, but you want to keep it to just the background, you can click on the mask and then brush away the subjects. Because I'm using black on a white mask, and my flow is at 10%, opacity at 100, because I don't change my opacity very much. And you can selectively mask the subjects. And obviously this is a very general way of doing it, but this is how you start masking, kind of like a masking 101.